The views and opinions expressed in these historical letters that may contain vernacular used in the World War II era, the post-war era, and the Cold War era do not reflect the views and opinions of any of the individuals involved with this project, including, but not limited to, the podcast's creators.
Good morning, Allison.
Good morning, Jamie.
Switching things up today.
Ooh.
Well, I was on the other side of the screen last week and I didn't realize, and it's just going to bother me now for the rest of my life. Every time I watch that episode. But we pivot and we reassess and we move on.
We do.
Time marches on.
Tempest fidgeting.
Tempest is fidgeting. That's the thing. See, I think that there's like some great lines, you think like freedom isn't free.
Yep.
And, lines like that, like there's no such thing as a free lunch, like those things, those nice little, like very succinct ways of explaining stuff. They require a little bit of critical thinking and maybe a little bit of reflection, to understand what they're trying to get across. But
right.
Tempest is fidgeting is Sweetie's.
Tempest, yeah.
Yeah, because you said, we talked about this. You never said that you never saw it anywhere else. She kind of made it up.
Yep. She took an old line. Tempest Fugit, yeah. So I'll put it on the screen so people can appreciate that, because we do have a Latin term there, so we don't see it every day, and we'll get that there. Yeah, I love that one. I was just thinking about it from some of her letters, because she keeps using the same ending. What are you gonna do?
Like, yeah, that's the new thing.
Other than yak, 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 which she keeps saying on everything as well.
Yak, yak, I think for me I think it's her LOL. Yak, yak. Yeah, it's her LOL or her like laugh out loud. It's her LMAO. She had a couple. She said pee in a shoebox, which is one of my favorites.
Love that. Rattling around like the pee in the shoebox.
Yeah, rattling around like a pee in the shoebox. Her sweetieisms. We have a few. We have a few because she's clever. But yes. What are we at? We are at episode 106. Oh, that reminds me too. Episode 105. I got to name that one.
Yes, you did.
That was fun. It's not get to name. I came up, I was like, we really should call it this one. But that's usually Allison's job. Allison will find the title, and she always is really good at it. But I was like, this has to be what this one is called. Because that was a little intense.
Yes, it was.
It was a little intense. We find, when we were learning about Chester, we were learning about, like, he's staying with Jean, and he's staying with Glenn. And this has really a big impact on Sweetie and her opinion of Glenn. We learned that Sweetie and Glenn and Jean are kind of having this discussion about things if Chester's health takes an absolute turn for the worst. So that was a heavy episode. This episode is better. Like, we're coming off of that. Chester, we're going to find out what's going on with Chester, which is nice. I'm very glad for this. Yeah. And we're going to get a little bit more into March of 1952, which is really, we're just moving right along.
We are moving right along. We have to get into spring. It's time to be done with the winter of 1952. There's been all these snowstorms. There have been all of these upsets going on in Iowa, and we just want to get to the flowers growing, and we just want to get, Sweetie wants to get outside. Whether the outside wants to work with her or not is a very different story. We're gonna hear about that today, but yeah, we got to get into spring. We absolutely do with the story. So Jamie, I think we'll just spring into the first letter. "363 North Main Street, Doylestown, Pennsylvania, March 26th, 1952. Dear Mama and Papa, Jean and Glenn, sisters, Florences, and Franks, I have neglected writing for a couple days or more, and so shall write a letter now, brief though it may have to be, to catch up on the latest news and acknowledge Jean's letter with the stamps. I must say I wasn't surprised to receive that should have been stamps. That is so typical of Jean's thoughtfulness that it is almost expected. I do appreciate you sending them, Jean, for I wonder if any of you have stopped to consider that each time I write, it costs me 15 cents, and that doesn't include the use of the carbons, the paper, nor the envelopes. I might add, as an aside, that each time I go into the dime store, the girl at the stationery counter always starts reaching for the cheaper envelopes almost before I ask for them. I've several little tidbits to write you, nothing momentous, but before I go further, and before I forget, I want to write about Lewis's jawbuster today. I had just scrubbed his face, squealed his ears clean and combed, you should permit the use, his hair, sent him in after his coat and hat to start off to school. Now, Lewis has always been a mugger, but more so than ever since we've had the television, and he has watched the grimaces of the comedians. Well, I heard him this morning in before Miss Darce's big mirror. He said something rather low that I couldn't catch, and then said in genuine pleasure, "Oh, you handsome dog, you." That is when I busted my jaw, keeping from a real guffaw. Another thing, I don't believe I ever wrote and thanked Sister's kids for the valentines they sent to Lewis. He was glad to get them all, but delighted with little Cookie's home, made one with the braid and the stick of gum. I do sincerely apologize to her as well as to Lewis, for he asked me particularly to write and thank her for it, and I thought I did, but fear I didn't. We thought it very nice, and it is one of the few to survive the rages of time. My apologies to Sister and the kids for my thoughtlessness, and my thanks for Lewis. Mama, I'm most anxious to get a hold of some rosemoss seed to seed my big and bulging cave. I cannot think a real rock garden is very suitable, as the sod is so thin between the surface and the rock roof of the cave, and believe rose moss would be the most suitable for that location. Another thing is that these natives don't seem to know what I'm talking about when I call it rose moss or moss rose, and so I'd like to show them, but am in a quandary as to how to get a hold of the seed. Mrs. Butler is my only thought, but doubt if she'd have any seed now, would she? Could I commission you as my unpaid agent in getting me some? Papa, did you recognize your string on that package of film I sent you? You needn't have warned me, though, about saving it, for that is one of my most savingest quirks. I just wondered if you'd recognize the same string. And also, if I need warn you not to throw away the string on the package I'm mailing out today. I am mailing a package to you today at Jean's address, and hope you'll not leave for home before it arrives there. I might say that the pajamas in the package are meant primarily for M.A., if she can tolerate them, or for whomever they would please the most. And I don't suppose I need add they make good dust rags, if nobody will lower their dignity to wear them. That one orange-like pair resembles in a great many details the big top belonging to P.T. Barnum, and if nothing else they are good for a few laughs if anyone cares to be the scapegoat, and model them. Another thing, before I forget it, when Elizabeth's mother-in-law died, Mr. Brown gave me a bunch of her shoes that I thought I could wear. Some of them are practically brand new. There is an especially nice pair of blue ones, maybe they are black after all, natural bridge shoes, and they are rather expensive. She hardly wore them at all, and one pair hadn't a scratch mark on the soles until I tried to wear them. I should guess they are 6½ AAA, or perhaps AA. I wonder if Sister wouldn't like to have them. They definitely would not fit Jean, and I'm quite sure they would not fit Mama, as I think she wears a 7 anyway. I can wear them, but as they tire me noticeably, would rather give them to someone who would get more pleasure from them. There are 3 good pairs, and I'll send them to whoever wants them. Prepaid.
That's a lot of stuff. Okay.
Yep.
Well, I think the first thing that I wanted to say was she goes to the dime store and there's a stationery counter. And then so the envelopes are behind the counter.
Yep.
Like cigarettes and batteries?
Guess so. Yeah.
And expensive stuff like envelope pilfering is a problem?
Yep. Yes. So.
Well, I mean, I can imagine that you were with the need for stationery back in that time.
Yeah, way more people are writing. The thing is here, I love how she brings up the cost of writing. We know what the stamps are. She says it's about 15 cents to send out each letter. But then she mentions like the cost of the carbons, and I was just like, sweetie, I'm pretty sure most of the carbons that I hold when I'm transcribing these had at one time been the property of Iowa Pack. And
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
certain about that. So I don't know if we're being particularly honest here with all of the cost of the supplies. But yeah, I just, it's interesting to me. I was thinking about that mysterious clerk at the stationery counter, and I'm thinking, if only she ever knew where all these envelopes would wind up and they'd still be saved to this day. So when I look at the envelopes, I'm like, oh, these are the cheap ones then.
The cheap ones that the girl reached for first.
They seem fine. They don't seem cheap, but
They made them different back then,
they
Allison.
did. Yeah, the cheap ones today are different from the cheap ones back then.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Oh, and then we get the cute little story of Lewis taking pride in his appearance. My son did that one time. It was so cute when he was like 5, and he was dressed in a cute little button-down shirt. And I saw him. He went to the car, and he could see his reflection on the side. And he goes, "Oh, I guess he looks pretty good." And I so it just took me back. Like, it was such a cute thing. "Oh, you handsome dog, you." Like, he is a handsome little boy, though.
I'll remind our new listeners, he is 6 years old right now when
6
he's
years old. Oh, so that's cute. So that was a cute little story. I like that.
Yep.
Oh, let's see.
I wanted to talk about the moss she's talking about, because she mentions the cave, and also to our newer listeners, like, what do you mean cave? So she's concerned. She wants to put something out over what she's calling the cave. So I actually it occurred to me to bring up the image of the outside so we know it's being talked about here. Otherwise, why is there a cave in Doylestown? No, on the side of the building. So this is a picture probably from that winter of 1952. We see the snow still on the ground. At the bottom right-hand corner, there is an elevation, and this is the cave that's being referenced. It's on the ground. It's something that they would enter, sort of the way they would, like, people would enter like a wine cellar or something like that, to keep things stored, to keep things cool. It maintained its temperature. So she wants to put something on the grass over here because they have to do reseeding on this grass. The property was not maintained. We can see it all over the place. There's still a lot of work to be done, but they don't want it to be too much where the cave could cave in. Oh, wow.
Oh, Allison, that's 2 today.
Ew, I'm on it.
You have to hit that trifecta. You have to hit that.
Oh, now I'm going to be trying too hard. It's going to, that was totally unintended. But yeah, she wants something easy, and she's using this rose moss. But she's like, yeah, the people around here, they're not from the Midwest. They don't know what I'm talking about.
I wonder if it probably, like, the climates aren't too different.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's just they don't see it. I wonder what it is.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is?
I'm not sure. I mean,
okay, I'll have to look it up. I'm going to look it up.
Yeah. Wouldn't this be like a peat you'd just try to sort of cover that with, so it has some more insulation, but it's not that heavy on it, and the roots aren't going to go too deep because
you wouldn't have to really mow it because it would be so she wants something that they don't want to have to maintain it. Obviously, and she can't do a rock garden, which would be so pretty, because now currently in front of that house, we were there, they have like beautiful rocks and like some evergreens and stuff, and it looks really nice. But you can't do anything like that because it would be cave in.
Yeah.
This is really cool though, to have like a cold storage, in this time, and to, like, she has that, she can store like eggs and milk and cheese and all this stuff, and it won't go bad. It's really neat. They didn't have that at the other house.
No, they didn't. But
so she was talking, and then during that whole exchange, she's like, what'd she say? I'm in a quandary. These are all, this is really great vocabulary lessons.
Yep.
These are excellent words. Oh, and then her last thing that she talks about, she says she got a bunch of shoes from Mrs. Brown and she was going to give them away. Oh, I know. Shoes, we know shoes, like the typical shoe of a woman in that time was like a low heel. Like that's what you wore every day, and that was everybody. I wonder what she was wearing when she was doing yard work.
Yeah.
Don't you have a picture of her doing the point work on the house?
I do. We'll bring that up.
Yeah.
But we're not at that story yet,
We're
so we'll
not at that
definitely
story
have
yet.
that there.
We're
Yeah.
not at that story yet. But I wonder what shoes she's wearing.
It's sort of blurry. You can't really see. I doubt it would be heels.
Yeah, like, what kind of shoes? Maybe a penny loafer or something?
Yeah, probably that.
But she has
Probably.
tiny little feet.
Mhm.
6.5.
Yep.
Oh, I wear 9s, so
She never wore heels from, she's not the heel type, I gotta be honest. We know Sweetie is just gonna be like, yep, whatever, simple and basic. So she always kind of wore more of like the clog or the loafer or like, the flats kind of stuff. As well when I knew her. And she's never commented on heels on any letters. I just can't see it. She'd be like, no, it's too fancy.
it's
So,
too fancy. Yeah, exactly. So
mhm,
so she's like, "Well, somebody else could
mhm.
probably use these
Yeah.
expensive shoes."
Hmm.
Oh, that's a shame, but yeah. So it's like nice. It's like we got a lot of good stuff
Hmm.
in this little letter. But now on to part 2.
Back to the package again. It is for all of you at 1341 West 14th. Don't get any wild ideas as to what it might be, as I assure you it is nothing out of the ordinary, except that one of my homemade poems comes with it. Be sure you write and tell me what you think of it. I wish I knew if Mama and Papa were going to stay on any length of time at Jean and Glenn's place. I'll try to send you something different most every day, if you'll behave yourself and stay put for a good rest that you know you need the worst way. I know that my letters aren't anything to rave about, but if they come often enough, that should make up for the deficiency in their character. But you'll have to promise to stay quiet and behave yourself if you expect me to let the dirt pile higher and deeper while I take time to write undernourished letters. I have some more snapshots to send you now. Some of our big snow, the worst we had, some of this wild man from the west. I affectionately call him Lewis. He is in full western regalia and just ready to draw, one of our car and yours truly looking too fat to bring top market prices, and some of this mausoleum that looks so bad, Lou is betting your first letter after receiving them will bring us $1 bill. He said you sent us some money last year after having seen a picture of this old house and its sad, sorry, and poor appearance. But I'm not going to send it in this letter, but in the subsequent days and letters to follow. You'll find one enclosed every now and then as an inducement to quiet behavior on your part. I also will send all your letters to Jean's address, and so you'd better stay there and rest if you expect to hear from me. Yak, yak, I've got you over a barrel now. Nobody even mentioned the episode of the poor swabby getting the penicillin shot at sick bay when Lou asked him to get me some nose drops. I thought it such a delightful tale and wanted to share it with all of you, and what did it get me? Not a grin, so far as I know. I'm right proud of myself for saving me some time and money the other day. I've been noticing my electric iron, bought in 1945 from Sears Roebuck for $6.95, the cheapest model they had at a time when electrical appliances were still not in production after the war, had been suffering from disturbance of its innards, and so with the usual fool's rush-in methods, I disemboweled it and found the trouble. For the first time, I wrestled with Phillips head screwdrivers and won, and must say I was right proud of myself to get the wire fixed, and the iron all put back together without any parts left over. But the best is yet to come. It worked. I have just received a letter from Frank and from Papa. Have the $2 back in hand, but wish you had kept it, as I know that aureomycin is very expensive to buy, even as you do, let alone retail, as I'd have to do, I suspect. I shall comment on Frank's letter first. I envy you your trip home, but in the same breath let me say I'm very glad you did go home to see about Papa and have at least a short visit. Your homecoming just isn't quite what it should be, but then I always say you must look at these childhood diseases as being 1 down and 2 to go. The fact that your kids had them all together may indicate their inclination for efficiency and a job well done. Just hope they have them lightly, and that you have the endurance to put up with a house full of germs and kids all at once. I do hope that it hasn't been too hard on Maida. Actually, I wondered more about her than about the kids. Give them time, and they seem to recover from anything, almost. But the mothers don't, always. Lewis eased into and out of the mumps remarkably, I thought. I guess I had them bad enough for both of us. He had plenty of swelling, but no temperature or discomfort to amount to. But chicken pox, well, move back, boys. I can top anything you care to boast of. He was a sick little character with chicken pox. Not that he was so much broken out, as near as I can remember. He had a light sprinkling here and there, but he was so sick that I felt then I'd had my share if he never had another thing. Ah, well, what are you going to do? Well, April 25th must come sooner or later, so just make a mark on your calendar for each day that gets safely by, and then, when that is done, hire somebody to take care of Maida, for as I figure it, she'll need another 3 weeks of bed rest by then. Thanks for your report on Daddy's condition. I do hope he'll take it easy and perhaps come to rest either at your house or at ours. I know he will be more and more difficult to keep quiet as warmer weather and outside work comes, and hope he'll think of that and take it easy now in preparation for it. I also wonder if you realize what a terrible strain this is on Mama, wanting to keep him quiet, so that he can rest and recuperate, and have to watch him in his restlessness disregard even his own advice. This letter from him said he was going to go home on Tuesday, and I know that would be a sad mistake, and hope he will decide to stay put for a while yet. Frank, you mentioned your 250 kids, and that reminds me that Dr. Lillian Gilbreth is scheduled to appear on TV on April 3rd. I wish you'd all look up in your TV schedules and perhaps see her along with me. Cheaper by the dozens, Mama, you remember, still actively at work with her motion study. I hope you can find it and see her. I enjoyed your scoreboard of diseases. No doubt you'll be glad to find the game has been called for lack of participants. There's just one thing I'd like to ask. Have you had mumps and chicken pox? Well, happy resting.
So she mentions there's 3 diseases. She says 1 down, 2 to go. So there's 3 childhood diseases that they're dealing with in this day. I'm going to guess it's measles and mumps and then chicken pox. So I'm thinking that they have measles. That's what I'm thinking. Or mumps. Fortunately, when you get measles and mumps, then you have natural immunity for the rest of your life.
Right.
So that would be the only time. And so this is why having all 3 kids sick at the same time is efficient. That is a very good way to look at it. If you can be one thing, you should be efficient.
Yeah.
So they're dealing with that, which is, and I actually remember when we were reading letters, Sweetie had measles.
She did. As an
like
adult.
during our letter reading. So yeah. And another time, so I'm just remembering all these things now.
Mhm.
There was a case of there was a measles outbreak in Philly, and she was like, I'm not going to take Lewis down to Philly because I don't want him to get that. Yeah. So, so it's the day and age. Poor Maida.
Poor Maida. And Maida,
And
we will remind ourselves, she's pregnant right now with a 4th child. So, they don't want Maida to get sick at all. Anybody, I love how she just refers to Frank and Maida's kids as the 250.
That's funny though.
Yeah.
That's funny. She's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's like, that's a shame, but she's like, but she got to hear from Frank. Frank went and visited. So he probably went and was able, and that gives her, another person to say, hey, this is how I think he's doing, which is, can be comforting.
Yeah. Now she's also trying to goad Chester into staying put at 1341 West 14th Street, which we know that's Gene's address in Des Moines, Gene and Glenn. So as long as he's there, he's staying put. And she's like, I'm just going to keep writing letters. I'll sneak a photo in each one. It's only going to get to this address. So you only get to see it if you stay put. And she's like, I know it's getting warm outside. And I know Chester wants to putter. If he's feeling better, which is the sense we're getting from this letter, he wants to be out puttering. And they're just like, stay home, stay home, stay home in bed. We'll see by the end of this episode if that actually happens.
Well, and you remember too, he's selling the farm.
Right.
So when he had so many responsibilities with the farm. It was a big piece of property. They were working on things.
Yep.
And having that idea where he has this in his head that I'm not going to have those responsibilities anymore. All of that's going to be taken off my plate. so I can have all kinds of room for other things that I want to do around the house, you know? Like he built a garage not too long ago. Now what's he going to be doing? So it just like with Chester, I feel like you really have to have your head on a swivel because, and like she even says, she's like, he could be gone. Like, boom, he's puttering. Where'd he go? I don't know. So I can imagine that he's getting antsy. He's not allowed to move. He is not in his own place. So, and she knows this too.
Oh yeah, they all do. It's Frank's visiting. I mean, here's the interesting thing. Usually, it's Chester and Laura going to Frank. For Frank to go to Des Moines and show up there and be like, hey, we can probably bet what this conversation is. You know, you should really stay here until you're better. And being the backup for Laura, no doubt. Because Laura, I mean, she knows things are going to be accumulating at home, you know, things to do. But her having help from Jean and Glenn, I'm sure she was happy to just be in Des Moines. However, you know, close everybody was because it was a small space for them all to be in for a while.
Well, but the hospital's there.
Yeah, they have the hospital there, but hopefully he wouldn't want to have to stay in the hospital. But at least they have access, and he knows everybody.
Yeah, that's the like in Iowa or in Lacona.
Yeah.
If something happened, it would take him forever to get there too.
Yeah,
like being close to the hospital at this critical time. That's like that. I think is the most important. Yep. That's the most important because the situation is not ideal. It's a small space, you know, and so. I can tell he's getting antsy.
But then there's this other part that I really like that she writes in this portion, just her language at this. I know that my letters aren't anything to rave about. But if they come often enough, they should make up for the deficiency in their character.
Doesn't she call them undernourished too or something like that?
She calls them undernourished. Little does she know.
I know.
They're not at all deficient in their character. They are so... What's the opposite of deficient? Efficient in their character? Whatever the other side is.
Efficient?
She's got a podcast for her letters, okay? You're one of the only, sweetie, because they are everything but undernourished. So...
Like, I want you to think about the way that she's writing. This is a 50s housewife.
Right.
And she said that, you know? Like, the way that she said that. And then she's talking about Lillian
Gilbreth, the doctor.
Gilbreth. And she's like, we should watch this all together. She has her motion study and all this stuff. Like, she's locked in. She's whatever focused. She's like, what's going on in the world? And she, you know what I mean? Like, she's a learned, educated woman. And she's just like, she's a housewife.
That's right. I mean, she only did, for our newer listeners that might not have listened to the first season, 1 semester of college. And she left. She went to business school in Ottumwa. She had her experiences at the base, where she was in charge of a number of other ladies and was running things during the war in her office, which I just want to see her running things in an office, in that clerical office, as like a 20-year-old. But this command of the English language, this is coming from her parents, and specifically from Chester. Yeah.
So, yeah, she definitely has a command of the English language. Like, she's so good at it, she doesn't even realize it, which is great. Yeah. But we still have a little bit more to go.
Papa, I've been kept pretty well up to date by Jean's frequent letters, and now Frank's in regard to your condition. Your own letters have been enough to make my toes curl up on the ends, especially this one that said you couldn't sit through the church services and had to go out. But in the same letter you said you were going to go home by Tuesday. That was yesterday, according to my calculations. I have tried to maintain a keep your 2 bits out of it attitude, but now I'm going to make up for it, and instead of getting just 2 bits worth, you're going to get the big economy size of lip right now. As long as you are in Des Moines, and your car is safely garaged at home, since you are close enough to get emergency care if it were desperately needed, since you are in a warm house where keeping fires is not a daily problem, since you are not on call as you would be as soon as the locale found out you were back at home, and much, much more important, since there is somebody there to help Mama with your care and help with the responsibility of making you take care of yourself, why must you be in such a fit to get home? You have said your flowers aren't even showing green shoots. They can't possibly bloom in just a few days, so you won't miss that fun. Your car isn't sitting out in bad weather. You don't have to hurry home to get it put away. And when you write of the too frequent attacks you're having, I can't for the life of me see why you won't do what your better judgment and your doctors tell you you must do to pull yourself up out of the slump. I hate to sound like an old battle axe, but you sound like you need to be scolded good, and if just a scolding will make you behave, I'll scold from now on. Do you know or have any idea the torment your family suffers, both Mama at first hand, Jean as an onlooker, and me so far away I can't do more than scold, when you are bent on doing what you want to do instead of doing what you, better than anybody else, know you need to do, what you must do to get back on your feet and be able to do the things you want to do? I could cry to get a letter like this one from you, telling me of the trouble you're having, and in the same sentence tell me you're going to go home on Tuesday. If you won't do it for yourself, I wish you'd look at it as doing it for my sake. I must say there are times that I feel as far around the world as it is possible to get, and my family is distant as distance can make me feel, and a letter like this from you surely can make me feel lower still. If you have little regard for yourself, I surely wish you'd give me a little more consideration, and you'd be bound to benefit by it. Won't you please stay at Jean's place a little longer and rest the way you should? Now, if you aren't too burned up with me, let's continue with this letter. I went to the school yesterday morning to be on hand when the dentist examined Lewis's teeth. He gave us what for not brushing them better. We did brush them each day, but Lewis is too inclined to wash his toothbrush under the faucet until the bristles aren't good enough to clean. We bought a new toothbrush, and now he is brushing teeth like mad. Hope it lasts. I shall follow your plan on the mouthwash also. That will be fine, along with this brush spurt, and I hope that will solve the problem. We'll go into more detail of Lewis in my next letter, and answer your question. Remember, I wrote you we were having weather that a dreamer would dream about? Well, I can't consider myself a dreamer in the true and literal sense, but we'll have to admit that instead of just dreaming, I fell completely asleep, and while I was outside enjoying the spring air, pulling a weed here and there, I got into the ivy patch again. I saw a little trailer on the ground, and I said to myself, with my eyes gleaming fiercely and my mustache a-quiver, I'll just pick this up and see where it leads, pull it up just fine as the ground was so moist and soft, and yep, it led right to the father root, and I evicted him also. And then, drunk with my own power to kill, I kept on here and there, pulling, getting one more trailer, and then when my better judgment got to working, I dashed into the house, and with a scrub brush, mind you, a regular fingernail brush, I scrubbed and patted myself on the back for being so wise and so clever. Today I'm pounding myself on the back for being such a fool. I've got it on every finger of my right hand, both wrists, and on my left arm, midway to my elbow. Well, if it doesn't spread any further, and if it soon clears, I'll just put it down to my martyr tendencies, and just think of all the future generations I've done away with, and how I've protected my young'un's legs this summer. I'm going to go mail the box this afternoon and buy some oilcloth and make myself a pair of gloves that have gauntlets to come clear up to my elbows to protect my arms, and then, forgive me, Father, I'm going after the other half tonight. I'm using Calogesic ointment that I had left over from last summer's dose of it, but have been forced to keep it bandaged, as it is right at that spot on the inside of my wrists where it brushes into my clothes continuously and breaks open the blisters that weep and weep. Surely last year's dose of it has done nothing to immunize me, but I understand that people who are susceptible are never immunized from one dose to another. Well, I look at it this way. I can get over this dose of it in time to catch the next batch of it as it gets started, and since Mother Nature repairs my lesions faster than Mother Ivy can produce new streamers of it, I'm bound to win, sooner or later. Lou has been touched with spring fever, too, and together we went out and cut down some scraggly bushes, pulled up most of the scraggly old lilac bushes that won't bloom anyway, and was a terrible hindrance to the safety of our driveway, and last evening we went out and took out an old tree trunk, clear to the roots. Looks much better. We bought grass seed and smoothed over the spots, and picked out the rocks and sowed grass. Lou said he always felt the neighbors watching from their windows, and wondering what we were doing next. You know, they supposedly were taking bets on which would wear down first, us or the place. If I can get back from the post office today in time, I'm going to go out and dig up a whole batch of tiger lilies and sow grass on that plot of ground too. She had an enormous bunch of tiger lilies on that patch of ground between the road curbing and the sidewalk. I don't know what to call it, but she let them go, and they have multiplied and spread, and whenever they get big enough to bloom, they hang over the sidewalk and swipe at everybody's legs when they go by. I'm going to dig them out and see if I can this afternoon, sick hands or not. We've got more dad-blasted tiger lilies around this place than you ever saw. I'm sick of them. I've got to stop now. We'll send this letter to you in Lacona in case you have gone home, but wish you'd write and tell me you're going to stay in Des Moines, so one letter won't lay idle. Love, Sweetie.
You see how there at the end, she's like, I'm going to send this to Lacona. Because she's not stupid.
She knows what she thinks is going to happen here because she got through her scolding.
Yeah, like that's like there's a whole one of those whole paragraphs where she is like telling Chester how it is.
Yep.
I'm sure it's a lot easier him being out in Iowa and her being in Pennsylvania, being able to say this kind of stuff to him.
Let's look at the timeline now before we get to the end of the episode. She writes the letter on March 26th. She says she thinks he probably went back to Lacona against his own and everybody else's better judgment on the day before, which would have been Tuesday, which would have been March 25th. So it's now Wednesday the 26th. We'll see.
We'll see. So going back, let's go chronologically here. Going back, so she tells Chester how she thinks it is, gives him all these reasons to stay.
Yep.
And then
ditto is all I have to say to all of it.
Ditto, right? Yep. And then so we learned about Lewis because he was having that bad breath problem. So they had a dentist come into the school.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then oh gosh. See, so I'm really actually quite glad that we're talking about her getting with this ivy because I've had poison ivy. I have it around my house that I've had to get it out. So when we moved in, there was this old dead willow tree in the corner of a property. It was all the way over there. It's not anything I had to worry about. It was not a priority. It was not on my top 1,000 list of priorities, This thing got covered in poison ivy. And I knew at some point I was going to have to clean it up. So it fell. So what happened was there was two big, large branches covered with poison ivy and all kinds of other vines, too. Virginia creeper, and there was a grapevine and everything. So there was a few vines. Well, we came home, I think from brunch one day, and one of the big branches had fallen. I texted my neighbor and she's like, yeah, it fell a little bit on the road, so we moved it. And I was like, oh no, I guess it's time for me to clean up that poison ivy. And then so we've been reading these letters and talking about that. So, but you can see in this photo that I sent to Allison that the poison ivy is, do you see all those things coming off of it? That's poison ivy, most of it. So yeah. So I had to, the other side then fell down.
Huh?
So it was actually on my birthday. I was like, what's a good thing to do on my birthday? I'm going to go out and clean up all that poison ivy. So I got, we have Tyvek suits with hoods and respirators. Don't ask me why. So I threw on a whole Tyvek suit and covered myself because I was like, I am not getting poison ivy. And that's me and my Tyvek. My neighbor was like, you look like a beekeeper. I was like, I'm not getting poison ivy. And my other neighbor stopped by and he's like, I'm glad you're wearing a hazmat suit for this. I'm like, I was like, yeah, I've had training. I know what I needed to do. But so I've also had to deal with the poison ivy. So every time that we talk about this and she's dealing with this poison ivy, I feel so bad for her because I've had it and I was like, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it.
She did not do this.
No.
Now she's making something. She's going to DIY something, but...
Well, she needs to protect Lewis's little legs so he can run around and not get poison ivy, because can you imagine? So yeah, so it just makes me laugh because it's one of those things that I share with her. It's like a fun thing that we share. I really like it. And then also her and Lou went out and did stuff. Now, I don't know. He seems to kind of have the same kind of character that she does, like the same like
Right.
inferiority complex, like, well, the neighbors are all watching us.
The neighbors. We just had the whole episode called I Could Just Hear the Neighbors Snickering. Every now and then she's like thinking, what are they thinking about this woman from the Midwest? Because to her, she is this unknown quantity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's not a Southeasterner. It lives at the base. And then here's this woman from Iowa who's just doing things differently. And to this day, so as I live in Doylestown, if I saw people doing what Sweetie was doing, you know, fighting the ivy, getting into everything, ripping stuff out, I'd still be surprised today. I mean, there's a lot of people that work outside on their properties, and that's not to say that isn't happening, but for a solo woman to be outside all the time, battling an old big property like this, I mean, you see contractors around the town,
Mm-hmm.
but she's always wondering and be like, and then if you knew, she's not from around here. Like, is this what they do in Iowa all the time? It's like she's a farmer. Like, this is like the Midwestern, you know, that
She's made of tough
spirit.
stuff. She's tough.
Yeah.
She's tough. She's like, I'm gonna do this.
Mhm.
I mean, she's got dreams. Like, she's got
Mhm.
ideas, and she's
Yeah.
but she knows she has to do it all.
Mhm.
You can slowly see her beginning to regret.
Mhm.
You know, there's this like it's like a huge job. She didn't realize how much it was going to be, and all that stuff was always there. Like,
Mhm.
they didn't. It wasn't like they came in with rose-colored glasses.
Right.
That was all apparent. But I think that the Miss Darst, that
Yeah.
she was not counting on that. And
No.
if Miss Darst, I think, would have been sweet and kind and loving and jovial, and I think if Miss Darst would have been like, oh dear, nobody cares about that, oh
Mhm.
dear, and instead of being like, you know, my mother would have done this and that, and you
Mhm.
know, I'm gonna sell all my stuff, and I don't care what you say, and blah 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 blah, and like
Yep.
literally doing everything to make her life harder.
You know what's amazing, though, I was thinking, was you think about Miss Darce living there with her brother, Uncle Ned, for so long, you know, him almost being 90, her being over 90. And I bet because there were other parts of the land that had been sold off. This is prime real estate in Doylestown today. It was becoming prime real estate at the time. I bet they had a bunch of offers to say, oh, we'll take this off your hands. I'm sure there were tons of developers at the time because this is right from the center of town. Now, for the people in Doylestown especially, but it's changed a lot today, obviously, as a lot of areas do. But still at this time in the 50s, there's only a few houses and mostly like some open space. But this is where Doylestown's going to expand a ton. It's not at all like that. It's complete. Other residences, you know, other commercial interests and things like that are in there. That wasn't there yet in the 50s. But that's not going to take too long to happen. That's going to start happening in the 60s and 70s. And you know, these developers are eyeing that property and saying, this property is kind of falling down. You know, the trees, I mean, look at all this like ivy. And it's just an old woman and her brother there. That's all we're going to do. They're probably just waiting. Honestly, they're probably just like waiting for it to be like, okay, this is going to go on auction. It's going to go for sale. We're going to sweep in. We're going to get this property and go for it because it is a sizable property. And in comes Sweetie and Lou, who are like, they're going to stay there. So it's interesting to me that Darce didn't take a deal to go to have an easier life somewhere else. She stayed, and then Sweetie stays. And that just, if there were any plans for people to sweep in and just basically knock down the property and build and develop north, because that's what they're going to do with those properties. The properties that were around her house are not there anymore. That she has neighbors, those buildings are gone. This probably would have been the same case in the state that we saw that it was in 52. And in comes Sweetie and she says, nope, this is mine. I bet it ruined some plans from some developers in Doylestown. And so when she's like, the neighbors are watching, who's going to win, the house or Sweetie? One thing we know about Sweetie is it's the perseverance. And if people are waiting to see if she's out so they can continue with their plans, they're going to be waiting for a while.
That's really interesting to think about the house.
Mm-hmm.
When it was built,
it's a critical time of expansion in town.
So it's just crazy, like that is still there today. That particular house.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a very interesting story, and like the house is huge.
Yeah.
And it's huge, and it's apartments and all this other stuff. And we actually even get to learn a little bit more about how big it is next week. But yeah. So I feel bad whenever she gets a little like upset about like thinking about what the neighbors think of her. But I'm like, wow, they don't have anything else better to do. Talk about a girl from Iowa.
We do see that on a lot of like old like television shows and like movies, is like the woman standing at the window judging the neighbors across the street. It's totally a thing. It's a stereotype of time. But yeah, that winds up this letter. The next letter she writes is the next day. Again, she's hoping that Chester and Laura are still with Jean. We'll see.
"363 North Main Street, Doylestown, Pennsylvania, March 27th, 1952. Dear Mama and Papa and the clan, I shall write a brief letter. That's what I said yesterday, and wound up with 4 pages of drivel. This is a beautiful day, and much like the one that started me dreaming right into the ivy bed. And I might as well tell you right now that I fear I shall pay dearly for my brief nap of a few days ago. I discovered upon waking myself up this morning scratching my ear that I have it on the top rim, near the point of my left ear. It is also showing up on my right leg in 2 places as well, as in various small clusters, on my arms and hands. I try my best to keep my hands off of it, and there are some places where the blisters are beginning to get tough and turn darker, and that is a good sign that it is clearing up, in spots anyway. Well, serves me right, I guess. When I walked to the post office to mail off your package yesterday, I stopped at the dime store and bought some heavy work gloves and some oilcloth, and I'm going to make some gauntlets to sew on the cuffs of the gloves that will reach clear to the bend of my elbow, and then I'm going to go out and see what's what. This is almost becoming a battle on principle, as I'm darned if I won't just kill it before it kills me. But oh, my itchin' ear. I must get busy and make a few pats, though, for Miss Darst received a letter from Mr. Murphy saying he'd be up this Saturday, the 29th, to get his little boy for Easter vacation, and that he'd stop by here to get her and take her with him on the drive down to the school, and then bring her back. I shall have to scrub the kitchen floor before he comes, even though I dread it. I'm going to mail to you a picture Louis made in school. I want you to look at it and decide for yourself what it is, and on the bottom of the letter I'll tell you what he drew, if I don't forget. Also, I'm sending you a copy of a poem I made up quickly to entertain Frank's infirmary, and as a teaser, I'll send you a small snapshot of Louis and one of the snowstorm that shows little but snow. Please notice it is snowing, or rather was snowing when I took the picture, and you can see it if you look carefully. Doesn't the house look sad? It is. Before I forget it, Louis has been asking me about these poems I've written, and I haven't saved copies of all of them, and can't remember them anyway, and so I'd like to ask that Jean send me the one about the knitting book, Papa and Mama send me the one about the gift, the first one, the silly one about looking in the mirror, the contest one, and any other I might have missed. I've decided to make copies and keep them together just for fun. I have even lost track of how many I did write and send, and so wish you'd send me copies, or make me copies of all you have received up to this one sent with a box of candy. I have one of them. None of them amount to much, really, except as a source of entertainment for you folks, and some amusement for myself. This one is on the El Stinko side, but I did it in a few minutes for the kids' amusement, as I said. However, I have one that both Louis and I like very much that I'm going to send you in a few days at an opportune time, if Papa will behave and stay at Jean's for a while yet. I think if he'd promise to stay at Jean's until I send this poem, which won't actually be too long, he'd benefit by it, and it would make it much easier for me to send the poem too. See? There's something to speculate about.
Yeah, and with the poems, she's been talking about these poems a lot in the recent letters, and I'm sure our audience is wondering, are we ever going to get to see some of these poems? Because she references some very specific subjects. I have not come across those poems, the ones that she's referencing here. Mm-hmm. But you'll want to tune in next week. You'll want to make sure that you've liked, shared, and subscribed to the Love Sweetie podcast so that you get the reminder for next week's episode, because it is in next week's episode 107, in which you will get to hear one of Sweetie's poems. So I wanted to throw that in there, put in a little teaser, and it's a good one. Trust me, it is a good one. She says she's not that good. Again, that's the inferiority complex. rearing its ugly head, again with the undernourished letters of the previous letter. If she thinks these letters are undernourished, then you can think about that if she thinks her poems are bad, they're probably far better than anything that you'd expect them to be. So I can't wait to start getting Sweetie in verse that we will in next week's episode. But in the other portion of this letter, again, she's hoping Chester is at home, or not at home. She's hoping Chester is still with Jean and Glenn, with Laura in Des Moines. And then she picks up from the poison ivy story of the last one.
Yeah, she still's got it, and it's getting a little bit worse. But she also, it's like, it's itchy and bothersome.
Yeah.
She'll live. Then we talk about Miss Darst. So Mr. Murphy, Brower Murphy's going to come up and get his son for Easter. And he's like, I'll drive you to get him, and then I'll take you back. Like, that's about the amount of time he wanted to spend with her.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
But it's good because this gives Sweetie a reason to clean. And, you know, she's not inside the house. She's outside getting poison ivy and ripping up tiger lilies. So she is, you know, not inside. And I totally, this is funny because I've actually been deep cleaning my kitchen in preparation for spring because I know I'm not going to want to clean it once the weather gets really nice. I really not want to be outside. But she's getting ready. She's like, I'm going to have to scrub the kitchen floor.
Yep.
So it's always nice having company because then you got a reason to deep clean the house.
She also gets at least probably a good, I would say, 3 hours of no Miss Darst in the middle of one of the days. Yeah, I think the school where he's going was in Lower Bucks. And Bucks County is kind of narrow as a county. You know, there's some states, I've seen so many maps of states with like the counties outlined. I'm always amazed by how perfectly standardized the size of the counties are in some states. This is not the case in Pennsylvania. So that drive, looping it back to what Mr. Murphy is doing, he's going to have to go from county seat, which is Doylestown, and he's going to drive about 40 minutes south. So we know Sweetie's got a good 3 hours. It's going to take at least an hour to get the kid out of school and to deal with probably any pit stops or stops that Miss Darst wants to do along, maybe 4 hours. That's a deal.
Yeah, hats off to you, Brower. That's a great way to get your visit in without having to like drag it out.
Yep.
So, but that's nice. So now on to the tiger lilies.
I didn't get out to dig up the tiger lilies yesterday, as I wanted to. I got too late a start to the post office to get home and get it all done, and besides, when I did get here, there were some men putting in a new street light just at the place where I needed to work, and so I decided I might draw some comments if I went out to work while they were here, and so let it go until today. I've got to iron and get to work, and so may not get it done today either. I wish I could stretch both days and nights to make them long enough to do all the work that needs to be done, and then rich enough to hire the work done, so I wouldn't have to do it. I can dream, can't I? Back to this poem business. If I'm going to send you the one that both Lewis and I like, I must have a letter from you telling me where you're going to be for the next 2 weeks. I believe that would be enough time. As I said, it would simplify matters for me if you'd stay at Jean's until you receive it, and go home sometime after that. Be sure to write me about it, won't you? In order to keep a copy of this poem for Frank's kids, I'm going to send one in the letter to Jean's address, and hope you're there to read it. Oh, yes, I meant to tell you that I have started on a diet. Lou says for the 3rd time today, but I really have. Not the old starvation diet like I tried at your house. I have too much work to do to stay with it, and I wouldn't have the energy to breathe if I tried that now. It is a diet that Jean sent me some time ago that I've put away until just the right time, which is now. Unfortunately, I don't have a bathroom scale of any kind, and so can't tell you what I weigh, though I'm not so sure I'd tell you if I did know. I'm feeling like a million these days, what with warmer weather and spring in the air and feeling so good, I felt that if I were ever to get at it, I'd better start right now. I have plenty to eat like celery and unseasoned vegetables. Actually, about all I've cut down on is potatoes, gravy, and butter and bread, and such things as that. No desserts of any kind, and so don't worry about my going on a starvation diet. But if I continue feeling so well physically and don't get to feeling blue about something, I should be able to tell in a few weeks if it is going to do me any good. Joe and Olive Rusky were here the other night. We hadn't seen them in more than a year and a half, I believe, as Joe was sent to sea, and Olive went to her mother's in Ottumwa. Anyway, they were here, and I could feel them both eyeing my avoirdupois, but Joe, in his usual tactless manner, asked me what I was doing to myself gaining so much weight. That did it, along with this picture I have to send in a future letter, and Lou's barbed remarks about top market prices. Something had to be done, and the time is now. I hope. Such a luscious day. I must stop and get some of the housework done so I can go outside and get to work. I bought some grass seed yesterday and want to sow it after I pull a few more weeds and rake up some of Uncle Ned's ashes and coal. We have a blue million little maple shoots all over the yard. They are rugged little individuals and must be pulled up by hand, and you'd not believe the number there are just all over everywhere. I pulled them off the cave first to keep the roots from getting down between the rocks of the cave roof, but there just isn't any stopping, and I can without coming out of a stoop, just pull and pull and pull. Oh, these days, I wish I were triplets, all thin of course, instead of triplets lumped into one lumpy package. What I couldn't do to this place, or if I had money enough to hire the work done, I'd make the bestest straw boss you ever saw. I've got wonderful ideas for this place, but since I'm one who wants to get it all done at once, this working in creepy fashion is most hard on me. Maybe I'm not as old as I've been feeling this winter. I've just got to stop. Lewis's picture on one side is a decorated bowl of pussy willows on a dark brown table. Note the grain of the wood. On the reverse side is Lewis, looking unhappy. I think he said it was because I'd called him in from play to set the table. The picture of Lewis in cowboy clothes is taken just outside our back door, which faces the south, and incidentally the picture in cowboy clothes was taken before the snow picture. The picture of the house is taken from across the street. Look at the size of the drifts we had. The snow almost reaches the top of the wall, did in places, as you see at the left of the picture, and notice the depth of the drift at the right of the house as you face it, where I shoveled a path. Love to all. Sweetie.
So there's a unwritten rule, it's understood in the English language that when you give description to something, the order of the opinion, color, size, that all has to be in a certain order. So when she writes, hold on.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's not taught, it's just understood.
Right. Yeah.
When she writes a blue million little maple shoots all over the road. No.
Yeah.
It should be a million blue little maple shoots all over the road. Color, quantity, size, type. It's a funny thing. I've seen it before, and it lists the way that you have to do it. But did that not sound strange to you?
A little bit. I think I was more caught up on the part about Uncle Ned's ashes and coal, and I was just like, as you read that, Uncle Ned's not with us anymore. I just want to clarify, they were emptying the fireplaces, and Uncle Ned was dumping ashes and coal all over the property, and she had run into this. We'd heard this in a previous episode, but these are not when I heard Uncle Ned's ashes for the first time. No,
because he was living with he was living with his sister, and then he got in a car accident, and then he died.
Miss Darst is not No, she is a villain, but not that kind of a villain.
No, and that's another thing. That's funny the way that came across. Yeah.
Yeah, between that and the maple shoots, I'm like, yeah, word order. She learned it from Chester. Well, my dad says that Chester talks like Yoda. Whenever he gets caught up in the narration all the time. We're gonna hear that in a moment.
So, Allison, now we get to find out if Chester took everybody's advice.
Lacona, Iowa, March 28, 1952. Dear Jean and Glenn, since you folks left, I seem to perk up rapidly since I walked around after getting circulation started. But to tell the truth, I felt pretty low, punk. after getting out of the car, as my feet were cold and the quinidine made me a little sick. I was wondering if I could hold out till we got home. Both Mama and I are suffering from a slight cold, and that has added up to some for both of us. Both had and have yet headaches. My nose was stopped up, and it was hard to get opened up. Better this morning, though. Collected $20 yesterday, $3 this morning, before 9. My heart case came in after you left, and I was pleased at all his improvements. Edema from the knees down, gone. Shane Stokes, heavy. Syndrome, gone. Could sleep much better and felt stronger. I was glad that I sent him that aminophylline, though he was beginning to get results with the digitalis I first gave him. Long live Arlie James. He's worse off than I think. Would like for you to look around and see if you can find that radio catalog I think I left there. The only thing Sight's got. Maybe you could send it to me by mail. Mama and I looked around over the yard and found that the jonquils, bleeding heart, and other spring flowers were peeping through. The soft mayflowers are in bloom, and the frogs are croaking in the lowland and creek. I heard mourning doves this morning before getting up. Of course, Turdus migratorius, robin, is here now. I am glad that I am on hand for the beginning of spring. My heart is as regular now as it was when you left. If we do not have an OB case we have scheduled, we may go to Frank's for 7 to 10 days and stop off and see a heart man in Iowa State University. Must close so Mama can mail this. Love, Papa.
So that was March 28th, and he was in Lacona.
Yep.
And not only that, he'd been there since Tuesday, like he said he was going to do. Because so he got home Tuesday, and then the next day he went out collecting his payments.
Yeah, and he received an appointment when he got home that day.
On Tuesday.
Yep, on Tuesday.
That man.
But Jamie,
if I ever get the opportunity to go to his grave,
yep,
I will, and I'll let him know. You, sir, ticking me off.
But Jamie, the frogs are croaking in the lowland and the creek.
Honestly, when he said that though, I just was like, oh, it like immediately, even the description of the spring.
His little one, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's so happy. He wanted to be there for that.
And Turdus migratorius. I don't think the robin likes to be called Turdus.
I know. Those freaking bird scientists. What do you call those? I don't remember what they're called.
Well, I know that the study of birds is ornithology, but
maybe it's an ornithologist?
Ornithologists? Yeah.
Ornithologists think they're funny. So he went home, and she knew he was going to go home, and he went home when he said he was going to go home. So yeah. I'm sure that one letter was waiting for him then.
There should be a song. Chester's out, I'll puttering.
He already started.
There it is. Anyway. Like, as soon as he got home, I don't feel well, not the greatest, not 100% recovered, but I have to go see what's going on. And Laura's probably like, I can't stop him. Like, that's it.
She went with him. She's like, all right. Yeah. I mean, it does seem like he's feeling better. And I think probably the state, like being home, probably made him feel better.
For sure.
So, yeah. So that,
for sure.
But, well, there you go, Chester. But he's up. He's walking around. He's working. Yep. He's puttering. He's Chester. And Chester says, you know what? One little postcard was not enough. I need to write two.
Yep.
Lacona, Iowa, March 31st, 1952. Dear Gene, had our OB this morning. I forgot to take my quinidine before starting out at 6:30 p.m. and did not feel too well, but got back at 11 without trouble. We did not have the rain you had, only enough to lay the dust. We possibly may stop off and see you Tuesday evening. Love, Papa.
That sounds to me like he's planning that trip to Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
This man, I'll tell you what.
Force of will.
He's a force, all right.
Yeah.
But so, well, we got our answer.
We did.
He's up. He's moving. He's going to be fine. So that's good. I'm glad that we got that answered. But that was our last piece of correspondence for this day.
And the last letter from March of 1952, because next week, Jamie, we're going into April.